the Education Over Debt channel. I am Sheena Hogue and I'm so glad you joined. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave comments below. This is a place where I give practical financial tips that anyone can understand and you can begin to implement now. Today's topic is credit. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me about credit, how to improve your credit, and I want to reassure you that there are many places that you can go to learn about credit repair. But today's topic, I just want to talk about the basics of credit. So let's just start off with that. What is credit? Credit is your ability to get something before payment with the trust that you will make the payment for it at a later date. So right there it sets off what credit is. Credit is really your ability to keep your word. You're saying on day one, or you're saying to this company, give me this money or give me this product and I will pay you back the money at a later date. But what ended up happening in a lot of cases and why people end up having bad credit is because they don't do just that. They don't pay back the monies that they borrowed for whatever goods or services that they purchased. They never pay it back, and then they end up having bad credit, and then they want to know, well, how can I repair my credit and what are some things I can do to improve it? So today we're just going to go over the basics of the credit and what credit is and how your credit score is composed. So on my chart here, you will see that it shows that 35% of your credit score is based off your payment history. So that right there is number one, your payment history. How to improve your credit? Pay your bills on time. How about that? You know, I talked about in the last episode, late payments, and late payments can stay on your credit for like 12 to 18 months. So one way to improve your credit or to have good credit or maintain or sustain good credit is really just to make your payments on time. You said that you was going to pay for this product when you bought it, and we just want to get our money back. That's what the companies are saying in a nutshell. We said we'll give you this money. Now we just want to get it back. You said you was going to pay us the money back. Can you pay us the money back? That's what is saying in a nutshell. So the 35% that makes up your credit score is your payment history. After that, 30% is based off the amounts owed. So how much do you owe and how much of your available credit have you used? So this is in total, how much money do you owe? So last episode when I was talking about debt and looking at your income potential for student loans, a lot of times creditors look at your debt to income ratio, like when you're going to buy a house or something like that. They want to see how much do you owe based off how much income you made. And so you always want to be mindful of your income level when you think about how much you owe. Now, of course, when you purchase houses and things of that nature, usually you will have a mortgage that's larger than your salary or something like that. But ideally, they feel like it's something that you could pay off in a reasonable amount of time, or you can make the monthly payments, or what have you. The next thing with that is how much available credit do you have? So when you look at credit cards, a lot of times people like to max their credit cards out. But if you max your credit card out, then that usually lowers your credit score because it's like you don't have a lot of available credit on your credit card to use. So a rule of thumb is usually to use about a third of your balance for your credit card balance. So let's say if you have $1,000, a third of that will be about $300. Okay, just give you some basic math. Now after that, we have 15% is due to the length of your credit history. So how long have you had these debts? Has it been a year or has it been longer? The length of your credit history. Then you have 10% for the types of credit used. So that will be like mortgages, student loans, credit cards, auto loans. And then you have 10% for new credit, meaning anything that you recently purchased that's new credit. So now you have a new type of credit or a new credit card or something like that. So that's 10%. So this is pretty much what makes up your credit score, how it's composed. They use some kind of calculation and they factor out a score based off this. In my opinion, I feel that if you have a clear understanding of how the credit score is composed or what it's made up of, then you know how you can better manage it moving forward. And I think a lot of reasons why people get into having bad credit is because they don't really understand what credit is and how it's composed or what makes your credit score go up or go down. But this right here, just understanding the basics, 35% is from payment history, 30% is from amounts owed, on and so forth. Then you can kind of have an idea of what you could do to then improve your credit and how to manage your credit so that you can get whatever you're looking to get in the future or just to have a good credit score in general. So next I want to talk about, okay, people always ask, okay, well then now that I know what the basis are for how the credit score is composed or what the credit report shows, I want to know then how can I improve my credit? So the first step to improve your credit is to communicate. Over communicate to your creditors about the debts that you owe to them. Call them and set up a payment plan to help them understand how you can pay back this money. Again, the setting up a payment plan can help with improving your credit because you're showing payment history. Now you're showing a track record of you making payments, okay? The next thing I would say is when you call to communicate with them, if you haven't paid on something in like years, then maybe see if you can negotiate a new settlement amount. So let's say, for example, you owe $5,000 to a company, or you took out $5,000 loan from someone and you haven't paid on it in 2 years. Well, maybe you could call them and say, hey, if I give you guys $3,000, can we settle this debt? Okay, what if I bring something to the table, can you settle this debt? In most cases, creditors will work with you because it's better to get something than not to have anything. But doing that can sometimes can be time consuming because creditors, you call them and they transfer you to the next person, all this kind of stuff. So it can be time consuming. Also, you may want to put this in writing. Okay, whenever you settle a debt or pay off any debts in general, get your credit company, whoever you take the debt from, to send you a letter in the mail saying that this is good. We see that you settled this debt with us. You no longer owe us anything. Get something in writing just in case things change, people forget. You want to get something in writing every time you pay off your debts. So the next thing to improve your credit, I would say, is just to be consistent. We talked about the payment history being 35%. So being consistent with making payments to the company. So if you set up a payment plan, be consistent to pay it and pay it on time so that it doesn't impact your credit score. Another thing you can consider is maybe adding your utilities or your cell phone payments to your credit. And I believe you can do that with Experian or some different tools out there, but add those to your credit because if you know that you're making those payments consistently every month, then that will help improve your credit because it's showing that you have good payment history with these companies that you have your utilities with or your cell phone bill with, things like that. So be consistent in what you say you was going to do as far as your payment history or what have you. Be consistent. And my last C I want to use, y'all see I'm using these C's today, right? So I said to over communicate, be consistent, and then last I want to say condense your credit. So condense just means pay down your debts. Make sure you are clear about when you get new credit. Make sure that you think through it, like why are you doing this, because you don't want to have multiple like inquiries on your credit or things like that. So I would say try to condense it, try to pay off your debts, try to streamline it and reduce it and things of that nature. With the credit cards, we talked about the amounts that you owe. You could call the credit companies if you're being consistent to make payments on your credit cards. You could call them and see if they can increase your credit balance. So that way, I told you that the rule of thumb is to have a third of your credit card used instead of maxing it out. So a third of it makes it kind of look good or what have you to creditors, like you're living within your means, so to speak. Like you can manage this, you can handle what you have, how much debt you have out there, you can manage it. So, don't forget about calling your credit card companies and asking them if they can increase your balance. Every now and then they may increase it by $500 or $1,000 or something like that. And of course that makes you look good for your credit score. So that's another way that you could try to like improve your credit, because 30% we said was tied into the amounts you owe. And so now it looks like you have a higher balance and you're using less debt or less credit. So that's another way you could do it. But overall, communicate with your creditors, over communicate with them, let them know if you can't make a payment. Maybe they can, set up a payment plan then, or set up a new due date or something like that. Just let them know, over communicate with them. I never heard anyone have a bad situation because they communicated with someone properly. Whenever you feel some type of way about something, just over communicate and it usually helps to resolve the problem. The next thing, be consistent. If you say you was going to do it, then be consistent to do it. A lot of times people don't have good credit because they don't keep their word. Credit is really just about how well you keep your word. You said you was going to pay these people, pay them, okay? And be consistent in doing it. Again, 35% of your credit score is based off your payment history. So show your consistency with making those payments and make those payments on time, because we know that late payments can adversely affect your credit score. And last but not least, condense your credit. So make sure you're mindful for the type of accounts that you open up. Mindful if you're looking for a home or looking for a car, just be mindful for what you're doing. I know inquiries can have a negative impact on your credit score, but again, be mindful. So for example, when I got my home, I looked into two lenders for my pre-approval letter to get the mortgage, right? So I was mindful of it. When I got a car, I may have looked into two different people. Usually I will look into the car dealership to see what they have to offer. Then I may go and do some research and go look at a credit union or a bank or whatever the top banks are showing at the time. I go to them and see, hey, can you give me a better interest rate? So those are things I do. So I'm okay with doing 2 or maybe 3 at the most. I don't think you need to have a lot of inquiries on your credit, but just be mindful when you're doing it, like what you're doing it for and how it impacts you. Because inquiries aren't like that big of a deal, but it can be a big deal if you have bad credit already or a low credit score, right? So you want to be mindful of those things that you look into. So please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave comments below if you found this video to be beneficial. Make sure you go check out some of my older episodes if you're trying to get a house or trying to do some things like that. Look at how to save, how to set up strategies to save money. Look at debt and understand what debt is and things to think about when you're leveraging debt. And then look at this episode for credit to learn how you can manage your credit and improve your credit for other things you may be looking to do in the future. I am Sheena Hogue, and thank you again for joining me for this short video on credit.